Today I am joined with presidential candidate Bemnet and vice presidential candidate Navid. They are currently running for the Mason Student Government presidential and vice presidential election. So what motivated you guys to run for the positions of presidential and vice presidential candidate?
We have been working as peer mentors, contemporary student services, for 2 years. We've said that a lot, like in this campaign, just because that's where our credibility comes in. What motivated us to run was specifically last semester, and during the summer, our colleagues were working as peer mentors as well, trying to help new students find off-campus housing, things like that. And last year, we've seen an increase in George Mason student population, like about a 30% increase, where we went from having 30,000 students to 40,000 students. Yeah. Adding in so many new students and even increasing the cost of tuition, because the university has a lot of plans, building new buildings, the cricket stadium that people have been talking about. And the university has let in even more students, but has done nothing on the administrative side to support the student population that we have. We don't have any new academic advisors, specifically in the engineering and science department, to support the students that we have. All the international students that have been let in, I think it was like about 1,000 students.
They're letting in 5,000 students in.
International students? Yeah. And international advisor numbers has not increased at all. We have about, I think, four or five international immigration advisors, or like less than 10, really. Wow. And for all those students that are being let in because they, make the university grow. But administration is not being supported adequately, and that's detrimental to the students. International students can't meet international advisors when they need to. And they need to a lot sometimes, because they could be dealing with a lot of immigration issues. Sometimes they're at risk of losing their F1 status. They may take less classes than they need to, or more classes than they need to, because they're like a little bit flustered and they never met with the right person. And we see these issues that need to be resolved. Okay. That's it.
Yeah. And I just want to add to that even with Mason population, like 85% of contemporary students, some people are actually homeless right now, because like the transfer issue, like we have worked with other transfer students, they do not find any housing, and cost-wise, I don't think most students can afford living here. So we have been working with homelessness, and then other students might have to take online classes, but the seats are already filled up by that time. Yeah. So either they have to drop out a semester at this one.
The biggest motivator. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to make a lot of enemies. This is going to be so fun. But at the end of the day, we've noticed that like life is about appearances, right? The university administration, the university president, the board of visitors, they have a student body president there and a representative from GAPSA there. And the university president meets with the student body president all the time to say, hey, I'm listening to student needs. But is he? I mean, okay, I don't really have some people hate the president of the university, some people like him. It's not really a personal thing. It's more of this is just in general how the world works. He has to meet with the student body president to say, I'm talking to students, here I'm hearing your voice. But we don't believe that the current student government has accurately represented most of the Mason population, because they have a lot of initiatives that they want to run by and that they want to pass. And I've said this in the debate as well, they are supporting their future goals with a lot of the things that they're doing there. And because the university president has to meet with one student to say that he's meeting with the representative of most of the students at this university, we think that we could do a better job, because not only have we been working with transfer students and off-campus students and international students, altogether they make up about like 90% of this university at this point, 85 to 90%. And since we've been working with them, we've gone through what they've gone through and we've seen their struggles. We don't think there's anyone better to represent them accurately than us. Current student government, a lot of government majors, it's become a club at this point. That's what a lot of people say, and that's why a lot of people don't even want to vote on these elections. And it's been hard to convince a lot of the students that we're trying to reach out to actually vote, because they haven't seen a change from previous administrations. I mean, I've met with the president, he's really great, and I've met with Sophie as well, she's also really nice, previous administrations, but most of these students at this university are currently, very skeptical and cynical when it comes to how student government is working and how they're actually advocating for their needs. They don't see a change that can come about at all, and that's what we want to change.
So what skills do you two possess that make you qualified for the positions?
I can speak from admissions office that I've worked with. I can speak from OIPS that I've worked with. I can speak from contemporary students that I've worked with. We have advised more than 400 students. Majority of them were Mason population students, and other were also international students. Inside of international students, there is also specific type of students, like China 1-to-1 students, Mason Korea students, a whole list of other things. So advising all of the students together, you just help to get connection with international students first, and then get to see their side of the issue, because I've been through there, he has been through there. So it's easier to connect with them, and appointments with them usually last an hour because there's a lot of things to go through. I mean, once you move into a country, it's a completely new environment. You don't know where to go to. You just need someone who can guide you throughout the process. So they are actually looking for someone that can guide them at Mason before they jump into academics and all this other stuff. Yeah. You want to add something?
That's really great. Yeah, we've just been working with students this whole time. And one thing that we believe that the biggest skill that we can bring is how new we are to all of this. Since we haven't been in student government, we're not coming in this because a lot of people have called us the underdog of the election. But it's just, we're not coming into this because, you know, we want to be in student government. We're not coming into this because this is going to support our future goals in any way. Yeah. We're coming into this because, like I mentioned in my opening statement at the debate, we are tired of knowing that the university, what the university is doing can be resolved if a majority of the students were actually represented. That's really it. The skills that we bring, the fact that we've worked with students, our connections with faculty of inside OIPS, admissions, and CSS. And I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. A fresh new set of eyes to look at the way student government is run, and students who actually represent the majority of the Mason population directly to the administration and the Board of Visitors. Those are our biggest skills.
So you mentioned, I believe, fixing the environment in student government and making sure that it's more effective. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So what steps do you guys plan on actually taking to try and realize that goal?
I met with the president, like I mentioned, and he told me a lot of the great things about like what I can expect as president if I win this. One of the things that he said was it's going to be a steep learning curve because we don't have prior experience. But he also mentioned that the fact that I have a fresh set of eyes on how to actually do this means that I can make a lot of change within the Senate and within the way things are run. Because sometimes they will try to tell me how a bill is passed or how we're going to do certain things about policy or how we're going to do things with the Senate, things like that. But then I can say, wait, why are we doing this way? Some things that might raise a red flag to me as an outsider, who they've just accepted as that's just the way things are done. And another thing that I do want to change within student government is yeah, I've mentioned this at the debate as well. Like you remember where it was like, apparently there's a lot of like, because student government people are pretty close to each other within there, I've heard that there's some drama between them. I don't know. I really don't know. I just heard that there's a lot of drama. Like I hear certain things from some senators, certain things from like some people, and it's like, it's so weird. The one meeting that I went to, that I mentioned in the debate where it turned me off from going to all other meetings, was like someone from student government just like got up and started calling people out from executive and from Senate that weren't really doing well, like in terms of the way they perceived it. Just people calling each other out, or like all of this, I really don't think is effective. And how do I plan to resolve it? Well, one thing is the fact that we haven't been in student government means that we've never had to deal with any of this drama, and we don't intend to deal with it at all. The other thing is the fact that a lot of the drama arises when people are trying to push forth themselves, like push forth their own agendas and push forth how they think they can do better and how things are not being done their way, and then they get hurt about it. Well, that's only a problem when people are more focused on how they can advance themselves and less focused on how they can actually help majority of the Mason population. That's what we want to change within student government. We want to make sure that students are represented accurately, as in currently the way it is if you have experience in student government, then you have like more priority. But just because you have experience, I mean, just because you've done things wrong for the past couple of years, you just have experience in failure. This is going to sound so bad, but I mean, if you have experience doing something wrong, you've just been doing the wrong thing for longer. And doing the wrong thing for longer doesn't make you more fit than someone who's new to it, because that someone might accurately represent the struggles of most of the Mason population. That's what I believe. And how do we plan to change it? Again, working closely with senators. One thing is, because we haven't been in student government before, we don't have any of like this pent-up agendas that we've been working on since our freshman year as senators or as like undersecretaries, things like that, that we want to go over there and like accomplish because we have the president's power. We're going in there because these are the issues that we see at the university, and these are the issues that we want to resolve. But then the senators also have really good ideas. I've actually spoken to a senator. Can I name him? Is it good if I name him? I think it's good if I name him. No, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. All right. Griffin Crouch. He's amazing. He's a great senator. I met him at the Contemporary Student Lounge. He's a contemporary student himself. He is an off-campus student. And You notice the issue of the fact that a lot of off-campus students don't have a place on the university to study because the buildings close pretty late, and they have to like stay late at night if they want to work on something. And he just got approved that recently got it approved that for the month of May, because it's like the final semester, crunch time, finals week, the Fenwick lobby will be open 24/7.
Wow.
And that's great because, I mean, that requires a lot of cost where it's surveillance, security, things like that, because, I mean, the library has to be closed down for security reasons. Surveillance, security, cleaning costs, all of that. He got that approved because that's what students need. And a lot of senators have these good ideas that we want to push forth. And they might have good ideas that might be pushed aside because people in executive or the president who can veto it in. I don't want to say that the president has done this because he probably hasn't. Like, I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, theoretically, if a president has an idea that they want to do, and a senator also has an idea, but then if the president was someone who was previously in student government and they want to make sure that their agenda is pushed at the expense of the senator's great idea, which might help more students, then that senator's idea is going to get pushed. And we can guarantee that that's not going to happen because our campaign is pretty much limited to making sure that the university is doing right for most of the students. If a senator's idea is going to do better for the students that we're representing, which is 90% of the Mason population, we will make sure that gets fast-tracked and our ideas are not pushed. Their ideas will take precedent over ours. Because at the end of the day, they have more experience than us. They might know what to do more than we do. And we're going to fully accept that and just come into this hoping to lead people that know better than us.
Can you guys explain how your platform will address campus accessibility?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Love that.
Okay, awesome.
So, in the debate, they asked us, how do you plan to work with UBU, things like that, right? Kind of embarrassing that I did not know what UBU was. And I found out that, like, when it comes to accessibility, it means for our students who have disabilities and many other students. Like, we have students we've actually worked with this one student who was elderly that was taking master's classes, but, really struggled with technology, things like that. So accessibility has, like, a lot of different ways that we have to come at it. It comes from students with disabilities is one thing, students who are elderly is one thing, students who are parents, students who are transfers, things like that. They need to have access to all these resources. And I think in a way, our campus is coming at this entirely from accessibility in terms of administratively, but like when it comes to how things are run up front, one thing is ADA compliance is not a word I like. Just because you can comply with the bare minimum does not mean you're doing well. It has to be excellent, honestly. Like, for example, some of these doors, the automatic doors that have the opening for students who are using wheelchairs, they are not only are they like inefficient, sometimes they're dangerous in terms of like how fast they close or how fast they open. All of that needs to be fixed. I mean, because it's also not just because accessibility has never been like, this is something that the president of UDU has told me, where it's increasing accessibility is not just for the students who have disabilities. It's also for everyone else. Like, no one has suffered because of accessibility. In fact, when someone is carrying boxes, the doors outside the hub right now, where you can push the button, and most universities, students with wheelchairs use them to open the door, go in and out. It's also helps students who are carrying packages from the mailroom. They can just push the button, and they don't have to worry about opening the door, putting down a package, things like that. Accessibility is going to help all students. So how do we plan to address it? Making sure that ADA compliance is another thing, making sure it's excellent for everyone with all the resources that they have. And we know of a lot of students in student government, like some of our opponents as well. They have worked very closely with these organizations and with these offices. We want to make sure that they are working with us because a lot of people have better ideas about these things than us because they've gone through it themselves. Our personal experiences really shape how you see things. And that's why we're here, right? Our personal experiences mentors help shape how we see the university. But yeah, with accessibility, we do plan to work on it. Other candidates have a lot more ideas about it than we do. We plan to work with them on that as well.
For ODS, most of since they have brought in like 40,000 students in, ODS, they need like specific advisors for specific students. So they might get to an advisor, but the communication with them hasn't been great from most students from what I've heard. And some of the profs do not know the specific logistics on how this works. Like the professor may say, I cannot do this because some reason the prof may give. But it's more like the prof has to know what's going on, and the ODS has to know what the prof also wants.
Okay.
So better communication between prof and the department specifically.
And what is, you said ODS?
Office of Disability Services.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you this, they do need a bigger area when it comes to finals, because a lot of students with disabilities are coming to take finals. Like, I mean, when it comes to just on the regular semester, of course there's a midterm period, but then not every classes have a midterm. They have some exams a couple of weeks ahead, some things like that. But when it comes to finals, it's a final exam where it's all these students are just coming in to take their finals, and they may need to go to the ODS testing center for that. But then it gets lost because fundamentally, throughout the semester, it may look like ODS may not need that much space, may not need that much funding, may not need that much workers. But then once we get to the crucial point of finals, then that's when it becomes apparent. Especially like if they had more space, if they had more organization when it comes to the final exam documents, because we've talked to students who said that their finals got lost and, you know, the mess that was happening there. Yes, we need to. This ties back into international student services as well. I know that like we've talked a lot about them, but I mean, at the end of the day, international immigration advisors and immigration specialists, students usually need them when an emergency happens. Like if they have to go back home for a family emergency, or if they are facing losing their F1 status because of a mistake they made in the beginning of the semester. First of all, they should have been reached out to in the beginning, but that's not what this is about. It's with ODS during the finals and with international student services as well, and with many other advisors and offices, you don't need them until you need them. But then when you need them, if they are not, you know, as efficient, if they're not working like a well-oiled machine, like in the crucial moment, that's bad.
Could you guys explain what F1 status is?
I mean, yeah, it's like a visa status. So you have like 4 years, undergrads are like 4 years to study, work sometimes. After they have done with the studies specifically, they can apply for CPT and OPT. So basically it's like work visa after you have graduated, and before you graduated during the summer, you can do like internships. So that's basically F1 visas, but there's also other visas like J1 visas, A, B, and a whole list of other visas, but F1 is the main visa for international students specifically.
Losing F1 status means losing your status as an international student because you're not taking enough in-person classes, or because you're not taking enough, because you're not recognized as a full-time student. And if students don't know what that means from the get-go, they could be at risk of this in the middle of the semester. And we've met with students that have suffered with that because they didn't take enough in-person classes, or they were taking part-time when they should be taking full-time. And we need advisors and or IPS mentors for that.
Yep, and most students like almost got kicked out of the country. So once you get kicked out, there's nowhere coming back.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's over for you.
What sets you guys' platform apart from the other candidates?
We've talked about this whole time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the fact that, one, we're new. Two, we have experience with helping students. And three, I think that our platform is the most likely to work for the majority of Mason students. Majority of Mason students aren't voting on these student government elections because they don't see the point. But even if they don't, we definitely believe that we have their best interests at heart more than the other candidates do. I think Curtis has their best interest at heart. He does have their best interest at heart. A lot of students struggle with affordability, and those students, like, we need to help them. So I applaud Curtis for that. It's just like whether or not the other candidates are like, you know, they have great ideas, some of them, but it's just, we think that our ideas are most likely to work for the majority of Mason students.
So speaking of ideas, what are you guys' big, ideas and plans once elected, if elected?
Well, one, get OIPS more funding, like we mentioned to international students. Even though it's going to be harder to like hire new immigration advisors because that's like a full-time role that costs a lot of money, adding a peer mentorship program within OIPS and adding a lounge space like Contemporary Student has, that was his idea, where it's OIPS mentors, peer mentors for OIPS means that instead of directly meeting with an immigration advisor every time you have a problem which causes them to be overworked, you get to meet with a mentor who has probably gone through it, and he will help you, or he or she, or they will help you guide through it, like another international student. And if the problem is if it becomes an immigration problem, then they can refer you to an immigration advisor. Because the way we have it right now, everyone is directly going to the immigration advisors for every little thing. And that leads it up to them being overworked. Because you might meet with a student that like for 5 minutes that just has like a simple question that another student could answer, but they're maybe not like connected to campus as much, which is why OIPS lounge spaces, like you mentioned.
Yeah. Like third spaces like CSS lounge spaces we are more planning for like international lounge, I would say, so that they can always meet with other students, build a connection, because sometimes they are just lost. Sometimes they do not specifically need like an immigration advice, but they just need someone to hear them, and then like hear from other students from their experience and whatnot. And so that builds a sense of connection with other students, like domestic students and other students, so they have their own belonging here.
And one other thing I want to add is Curtis wants to reduce tuition. That's good. I haven't heard from other candidates about how to reduce costs as much, because now Colin's plans are, Colin and McCall, like you've met with them, their plans are to increase university life, increase school spirit. I'm pretty sure you met with Faris Rawad as well. Their plans are to DEI, accessibility, things like that. Great. But one thing that I want to add when it comes to tuition is, even though reducing it may not be as plausible because of the way inflation works, we want to propose frozen tuition plans for 2 years. I remember a couple years ago, George Mason University did think about like giving frozen tuition plans for 4 years for all students. The reason we want to limit it to 2 is because, one, we understand realistically this is a fast-growing university. The university will need more money. But limiting it to 2 years at a time means that graduate students can graduate with their degrees without seeing a big increase in their universities. A lot of master's students who are international students, and undergraduate students, especially off-campus transfers, internationals, when they come in, they will have a period of time where they can definitely know that they won't have an unexpected increase of cost. Not just that, but freezing tuition means that the university has to realistically plan for what they're going to build and what they're going to do. Because if the university just thinks, yeah, we'll just add more students and we'll just raise the cost to cover the cost of that, then the quality of the services that are being provided to students just goes down. But if there's a frozen tuition price, then the university knows this is what we're working with, and these are the students that we have. So let's fix that, and then next time when we can add students and add a cost, then we can see what we can do with that money. So this limits what the university can do and ensures university quality, while also reducing costs in a realistic way for all graduate and undergraduate students. That's our tuition plan.
Well, thank you guys so much for allowing us to conduct this interview. And
yeah, thank you very much for having us. Like, this was a really fun interview. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, great to meet you as well. Great to meet the team back there. Shout out to y'all. Thank you very much.
And where can people vote for you guys?
Vote for us on Mason 360, Bemnet Fasil Bekele, and
Navid.
yeah, Ahnaf, Akmal, Navid. Sorry. That's the way our names are appearing on the ballot. Vote for us on Mason 360 because the way the university is run currently, not good. You deserve more. That's our motto, because students deserve more. Thank you.
Thank you.